I was so angry. Like, it was like incredible. It was like so much rage.
Can you start just by introducing yourself?
Yeah. I'm Amanda Horowitz. And like who I am, like what I do.
Yeah.
I think I'm an interdisciplinary artist, and more I work primarily in playwriting and performance and directing. But I always feel like I am an artist who makes plays,
Right.
and that feels important to hold.
Yeah. Well, when I met you, you were not so like completely in theater.
No, I mean, my background's in sculpture, and then sort of intuitively came to making plays. And like for a really long time wanted to be in between everything, and actually still do. But I also think as I've gotten, slightly older and maybe like slightly more quote unquote professionalized, you do have to limit it down, or you have to actually, like, simplicity sometimes can be helpful.
Yeah.
But I often feel like a lot of resistance when it's like, I mean, it's also just like what unfolds in your life, like where like opportunities are, where like you just like follow the path a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that's been, sometimes I am really shocked that I've ended up making theater and like in the theater world, but then also remind myself like it's all just projections and perceptions of where people land.
Right.
And I get to also choose how I like admit it and how I resist it and accept it. Like, I think actually being like, theater is also not a good look when you're in theater, when you're clearly making theater.
What's the that's like, or like theater kid energy, or like
Well,
Glee people?
totally. I mean, that for sure. Absolutely. What is it? I think there's certain ways of making things in theater and established norms and conventions that have like trickled down from like professional theater. They've like trickled down into ways of defining process that I don't like.
Yeah.
And so while I really I love theater because it allows me the space to work with language, people, and space, like objects. And in some ways it can like hold my whole practice. But I also, because I come from like a studio practice and art making, I also don't know what the form is going to be.
Yeah.
And I think that is something that I've been surprised as I sort of have worked in theater spaces, that process and form and what is possible aren't the first questions.
Yeah.
Like there are absolutely people who are thinking that way.
Yeah.
And I found those people, but that's not like, when you say theater, that's not what happens.
Yeah.
So that has, and I guess I just don't, I mean, maybe this is also just who I am. Like anytime I arrive at something static or like a established thing, I'm like, no. So it also could just be me. And actually, like, theater has actually opened up my world in so many ways.
So speaking of you, what you are like, when, like, as soon as I thought about doing this project, me and Michael were like, who should be on it? It's like, of course, Amanda should do it. And that just seemed like, we didn't even say like, because of this and this and this reason. Like, it just seemed like an obvious fit that you would be a good guest for talking about feelings. And I guess maybe my like, I have that a little bit, what you're talking about. Like, the idea of like a therapy podcast like brings to mind kind of like some corny shit. And so I think my fantasy of you was actually that you would be a good guest, not to like put you on the spot, but like that you would be able to talk about this stuff in a way that felt like dropped in and real.
Totally. I felt similar.
Yeah.
I was like, finally, someone's asking me to do what I'm good at. just sort of talk about my experience.
Yeah. So when the subject is heartbreak, and And when you think of that, like what were your associations with what we'd talk about today?
Well, I guess I thought about disappointment, or I was like, oh, when people ask me about, they're like, what's your work about? I usually say, oh, it's about desire and disappointment, which basically I think is like the stuff of life,
Yeah.
if you're so lucky. And it's sort of like, you don't have to say much more than that. So I was thinking about my own relationship to disappointment. And I also was thinking about like, I think heartbreak is it's like a portal that you enter.
Yeah.
And like a lot of change happens inside that portal.
Yeah.
And so I think I write about it a lot in different forms. I also was thinking about like all the different ways it shows up in one's life. And I was like, oh, what's like I can tell a story of heartbreak that's like about partners, or about friends, or about even just like kind of like a disillusionment with certain things you thought you wanted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's such a, it's like quite expansive as a topic.
Yeah, I definitely thought going into this that it was going to be like mostly about romantic heartbreak, and I like can't contain it to that. There's just like it does take too many other forms. But just that romantic heartbreak has been like the most generative space for like that kind of like growing has been there. How many times have you experienced? Well, okay, I don't want to tell you, I don't want to lead too much, but like when you think about like your first big heartbreak?
My first big heartbreak, I think I was probably 24, 25. Yeah. I think that was it. Like I'd had relationships before, but I kind of like had more control over that. Like I kind of was like the one maybe doing some of the heartbreaking in some ways, and also not. But I think, when I was 24, 25, and that was like, because I felt like I had gotten the thing I couldn't believe I got the thing I wanted. And I couldn't believe that this was like my life, that I was like stepping into this. Like it was so unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
And then it sort of fell apart.
Yeah.
And I remember that feeling of like your body doesn't want to accept it, or it's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And then, I think that definitely was the first like big heartbreak. And it was extremely disorienting. And I really did not want it to happen. And I think I believed for a while that maybe it wasn't happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that, and maybe because it was the first time. And then it also was like, oh, I guess now as it has happened again, like somewhat similar things or repetitions of those things of like, you start to think like, oh, maybe I can't have what I want, and also, oh, that's that feeling when I feel like I can't have what I want.
Yeah.
But it was, that first one was really, and I stayed in like a fantasy mode for a really long time.
In what way?
I think it was maybe, I'm trying to remember, like, I guess it was so exciting. The kind of falling in love was so exciting.
Can you, like, because, oh, sorry. I think often that's the setup, like, that from moment one, like, all the conditions are there, and that the fantasy is often a part of that. Like, when you look back, you're like, okay, yes, I was setting up this inevitable thing that was going to hurt me always.
Absolutely.
Totally. What was the picture in the beginning? What was the fantasy?
It was sort of well, I was like, I guess I didn't know I could be a person who could fall in love like that. And I think that really like surprised me. I didn't know, like I was like, I really felt like stepping into a new way of being.
You weren't one of these people who was like spending childhood like, one day I'll be in love and it will be
I think
So
I
perfect.
was, and maybe that's where, or sometimes I don't think it was totally like that. Um, that wasn't a main fantasy. I mean, for sure, like I love rom-coms and I love love, and stories of love are really exciting to me. I felt very seen in this. Like I felt like actually the fantasy was of being witnessed
Yeah.
and being like, oh, this person sees me in this way that I feel like I'm communicating. And also like it's giving me new language of like what I can be. And it was completely impractical. Like now, actually, this person is a very dear friend now, and it's a really cool thing that has happened in my life of like how something has like metabolized and transformed.
Yeah.
And it's like in the right place right now, like, or it's like this is what we were always supposed to be somehow. But at the time, it felt like, because of now, I'm like, okay, this is how it should have been.
Yeah.
I can be like, of course, it was never going to work out. Like, oh my God, I was way too young, and we were in absolutely different places and on different coasts, and like none of it was actually practical, or like it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
But I think some of the fantasy was, and which I actually also felt really overwhelmed by. Like I remember feeling like I'm not actually ready for this kind of relationship.
Yeah.
But the kind of fantasy of, also it was like a relationship where we met through art making. And I think that was really exciting to me, of like a sort of erotics that was both like actually happening, but also like through sex, but also happening via art making,
Yeah.
which is how we kind of met each other. And so I think the like fantasy was also having someone come from my, like being an artist in love, which I think maybe that was my fantasy as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. And and also like in your mid-20s, like I assume that your identity as an artist was like actualizing, like I'm becoming this
Yes.
person I
Yeah.
always, and so like that's
Totally.
happening, and I'll have a partner in that. So that gets reflected in the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And in that sense, I think I was also like that notion of being seen and witnessed. Like I also was confusing the two. Like they were getting muddied, and I think in a good way. Like I don't think they should be separate necessarily, but like what I'm making and how I'm loving and how I'm like discovering who I am and like what kind of embodiments I want to be in was all really like quite like open and very like alert and like full with so much possibility. So when it did end, it was like a foreclosure of all those things.
Yeah.
For a time, or it felt like bigger than just like the person. It also felt like, in the way that like I actually think heartbreak is, like the person becomes a vector for actually so much more.
Totally.
But it's easier to deal with the person than like all the other things sometimes.
Right.
Or they bring you to the other things.
Right. What can you like paint a picture of like, so this is how many years ago?
10
years ago.
Yeah.
You're in New York. What?
I was in New York. I was in LA.
Oh, okay. That seems like I've never lived in Los Angeles. It seems like
Yeah.
a hard place to be depressed.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I remember thinking that. I think that it is a hard place. It's a hard place to have a feeling, a very bad feeling, because you are essentially alone moving through the city. And if you are feeling bad, the world reflects that back to you. It's very hard to like change a feeling. Whereas I feel like in New York, when I feeling really off, like I go for a walk, and like there's just other energy that like disrupts it.
Yeah.
Or like, I mean, it's not that clear, but anyway, yes, it was very hard to feel heartbroken in LA. But
can you paint a picture of like a day in your life during that heartbreak? Like what were you feeling? What did you do?
Well, okay, what I remember, so it was very clear that it wasn't going to work, and then I remember there was like an exchange of emails, but it was the day that Trump got elected in 2016 that I also got this email that, yes, in fact, this is not going to work, which we then spoke later. And it was both kind of like politically disorienting and kind of heartbreaking. and then also personally incredibly heartbreaking. And I remember I couldn't quite distinguish like which one I was feeling.
Yeah.
And then I also was working. I was working as a substitute aide for classrooms with students with cerebral palsy. So I was like, I remember I woke up the next day. I had to wake up at like 6 a.m. to drive to the school. It was on the west side of LA. I lived on the east side. I just remember like giant tears just like dropping down my face as I was driving, and then going into a classroom with people who are nonverbal, but there is a massive energy in the room.
Yeah.
And then we watched Hillary Clinton's concession speech like together, and I was just like, I was crying over the heartbreak of this person, not
Hillary,
not Hillary, and the Trump stuff. I mean, it was, you know, obviously like felt crazy in 2016, but I really was in my personal life. But I remember I got to like hide it underneath the like political heartbreak, and so that is really, really memorable for me, and like I think it's also quite funny, like a really good like human comedy that like on the election night you also got this like breakup.
Yeah. Someone, I don't want to get us off track, but someone did say, someone who's younger than me said recently that he was like, I think that like young people right now like don't even care about love. Like this is just like not a priority for people.
Yeah.
Because they feel too disoriented politically.
Yeah. I've thought that. I mean, I teach young people now, like college students. I've wondered.
What did it feel like? Can you like why is it heartbreak for you? Why is it different than just like feeling sad or depressed?
I mean, I do think it has something to do with the loss of the fantasy. It's you don't have control over it, which I think can be very hard, especially as someone who I do have, like at least in my creative life, I feel like I actually traffic in fantasy so much, and like writing is so much about fantasy, but it is not, it's a lot more in my control, let's say, sometimes. And so I think that, but then also just that feeling of, I mean, I think it's so potentially universal, but that feeling of like, I'll never get what I want. Yeah. You know, I don't know, but, or that feeling, and it's like specific to my own like history, you know, like why do I feel like I'll never get what I want is like a different flavor than someone else. But I do think that really, I have felt that a lot, or it's too good to be true.
You think you felt that before, like lifelong?
No, not always. But also, yes.
Say more.
Oh, gosh. Have I always felt like I'll never get what I want? It's a good... I don't think I've always felt it, actually. No, I think that actually, like, the more you participate in the world and the more you have experiences, you actually, the less you get what you want, which I think is good.
Yeah.
Because it means you are like truly in the social contract with people, and you're truly like, you are like working with life and desire.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think. I mean, I think there's always a feeling of, do people see me, or like do people can they like literally hear me, like I have such a soft voice, you know? I think that maybe is like part of that. Like, do people even know what I want is maybe more a lifelong feeling than like, will I get what I want?
Yeah. And
sort of like, is it my own failure of communicating it, or is it I thought I was communicating it but I guess I wasn't? That has been like a real, I think that's the stuff that like I remember earlier kind of like breakups or like people I thought I wanted to date, but then it didn't work out. Or I remember there was this guy in college that I was really interested in, and I really wanted to date him. And he kind of sort of went away. Or like, it wasn't really ghosted, but he just like, and I was like, wait, what happened? He goes, I didn't even think you wanted it that bad. Or like, I didn't actually understand that you were interested.
Yeah.
And I think I was like so shocked. I was like, oh, I thought I was communicating that.
Yeah.
And I remember that was a kind of heartbreak, but not like for the person necessarily, but kind of like the experience of being like, wait, I'm not communicating the way I thought I was, or like my feelings aren't being expressed. And I think that's my journey, or like that's the thing I'm like working with always, or like, I mean, I think even like when I said like theater is also about how people communicating badly, or trying to say the thing you want to say, and like missing the mark, or like it not being heard, or I think that is, that's such a big part of what can be so disappointing about relationships.
Not being understood.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes also feeling like that you're like less loved because you have to explain yourself more.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. Less love because you have to explain yourself more. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, how did you not just understand that I'm suffering, or that I needed that, or that was going to hurt me?
Yeah.
What about in your body? So it's 2016, you're driving to work. Like, what's like the actual felt experience of heartbreak for you?
It is this feeling of, it's both like there's a tightening, because it is kind of like, oh no, 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 I don't want this to happen.
Yeah.
Is this happening? No, don't make it happen. So there's kind of
falling off a cliff.
Yeah, there was that, like a kind of, but then underneath there is that free fall, because and like, I mean, I get really weepy. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
I think I think at that time in 2016, I had actually just moved to LA, and I didn't have that big of a community. And so there was also I felt very like lonely in it. Yeah. Whereas I feel like more recent heartbreaks, I've been a lot more surrounded by people, and I actually know I know a little bit more about how to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Through it.
What were your first attempts like? Like, how did you respond to the struggle?
Oh, gosh. I think I tried to hide it. Yeah, I tried to hide it. I didn't really want people to know. It also was a very brief relationship, so it also felt like totally unproportional with the actual relationship.
I think it's really common that people think, oh, I shouldn't feel this bad, or not entitled to be heartbroken about it.
Right. Well, I also think because it was in its state of potential, like you're also just mourning the potential.
100%.
Yeah, and
I never even got to like
experience that.
Yeah, like
that was big.
Yeah, so it's not like all the ambivalence that comes up with like once you're really in it with someone, and things are complicated and there's like harder parts, like it's more idealized if you never really get into it. And so
I think that was what made it way more difficult. Whereas when I've had relationships break up, that you've had a relationship, it's just a very different process.
Yeah.
And like in some ways it's more interesting because you are really faced with like how you were affected by somebody, and like time was spent with somebody. And I think also like that I have felt like more like a withdrawal, like a physical withdrawal from those like longer relationships that break up.
Yeah.
But this felt like actually far more like so much more about airiness and like, because it was all potential and fantasy, and it was real, and it was like a very, very special experience, which I can now like say, and be like, wow, I was so lucky to have that, and like how cool. But
there was like a, if I don't show anyone, then it won't be so bad, or that's the right way to manage.
Yeah, I just kind of couldn't believe it. But at the same time, because it was, as someone who has, I'm now, like someone who was really good at hiding one's feelings, it was quite exciting to be like, oh, you also can feel heartbreak, you can fall in love, you can feel heartbreak, you can, like I felt very like part of the world.
Yeah.
You know, like I felt like I had, like I could talk to in some ways I could have that story with somebody, or I could have that moment with, like, talk with somebody about it. And I felt very like, and that feeling where you're like, oh, this is what this is, or this is what this is about. This is why people are kind of obsessed with this feeling.
Yeah. Well, there's a cliche about heartbreak where like pop music suddenly becomes very relevant.
Yes. No, I really, there was like a Rihanna song, I think, at that time that was out, and I remember feeling so deeply with it.
Yeah.
And being like, what is going on? Like, you know, like, I was like, okay. And it was like kind of fun. I remember I was in New York at one moment when it, like, actually in this house, because I would always stay here. And sort of like had a kind of like conversation with this person. I was like, oh, there really is no hope here. Like, this is not happening. And I remember like walking along Eastern Parkway, you know, and there is both a kind of heaviness and a deep and melancholy and quite aliveness. Like there's a real, that's why I'm like, it's a portal. Yeah. You know, like something, like whether you want it or not, like you are put into transition. Yeah. And that I think is like, those are like the most important moments in your life.
I don't know if I've said it on here, but I always have had the feeling of like, it's like maybe, or like the metaphor I think of for myself is like, that's like watching one's own house burn down. Like,
that's so good. That's like so good. Yeah.
It's, like it's obviously horrible, but like, wow, look at it go. Like you're not bored.
Yeah. Definitely. You are not bored. No, you're like, this is feeling, like this is actually, this is what is, like, I can't hide it. It's not manageable. I feel very like open to the world in a certain way. It is totally like watching your house burn down. Yeah.
What did you, so if that first breakup sets you, like what I'm imagining is that like gives you some data about who you are that you've been working with since. What were the lessons? Like, what did you learn about yourself?
Well, I learned I could have it. Like I was like, oh, you can have this kind of, like, you want it and you can have it. I think that was like big for me. It can be related to your creative life. I think that is something that is now getting a little messy, but like not messy, but I'm starting to question actually a little bit.
Wait, say more about that.
Oh, like I think I learned from that relationship, I was like, I really want someone to emerge. Like I was like, maybe I want to be with another artist, or I want to have my art practice and my desire be very linked to each other. And I actually still feel that. But I'm also realizing that
Are you talking about like actually collaborating with lovers, or you're talking about the material is going to inspire creative work?
Oh, I think it's a bit more, it's like somewhere in between. It's kind of, no, I don't actually want to collaborate with it. That I know now. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't think. But more, okay, I think what it was is that I think as a teenager, as someone who wanted to be an artist, wanted to be seen in that way, or like work in that way, build a life in that way, I kind of thought that I was desirable because of my artwork for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think having to separate that out, but that first breakup was not, I did not learn that there.
Yeah.
In fact, I
Okay.
actually kind of like, I think I started to confuse those two things, and in the past like 10 years have actually been like, oh no, these are in some, like it's like I actually don't know if I always want my sort of, I want to actually protect my artwork in that sense.
Yeah.
Or protect my kind of internal world in that sense, and not have it be also the thing that is always connecting me to people. Also because I think it lends itself to different kinds of connections. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I wonder, like, it's interesting because I wonder if I was doing that to you a little bit in my fantasy of like, oh, Amanda will be able to come on and do this. Like, not that it's like sexual or romantic, but that we could connect that way because I know about your work, or like just threads of like my own fantasy about you.
Yeah, what is it? I'm curious.
Well, just everything I said.
Yeah.
But like that does come from. I mean, we spent time together. We were like COVID buddies.
I know.
But
was
which is like
wild.
Maybe.
I also was really going through a heartbreak that time.
Yeah.
This house is really kind of like my heartbreak house.
If for anyone listening that like is not aware of this, we are in the home of my ex, who I live with.
Gosh, I remember it was so inspiring because I was going through a breakup during COVID, or sort of like in the ruins of it, let's say. And I remember seeing you and Michael and being like, oh, we can be friends. You know, being like, I actually really like, I found it such an inspiring relationship.
Yeah.
And this ex and I are not, we're not friends, but we're nowhere near.
Yeah. Well, it's so fun. I always like think I know what me and Michael have done, and then it like shifts or whatever. But we've stayed friends, and I'm so grateful for that. But it's not always possible, obviously. But I wonder in what ways, like, because what I imagined you were saying is that like potential lovers are like really attracted to this part of you and like have access to you through your work. And I wondered if in not a romantic way, but just in terms of like what I'm making here, if I was like thinking about you that way, and maybe just like you just saying that opened me up a little bit to like, maybe people are kind of like reckless with creatives and like what they're going to make of the fact that you guys are out here doing this work.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is a very recent shift, and it might once again shift again, but I have felt that, I guess I've been thinking about the ways in which I have always wanted to kind of do things my own way. And that has, and I kind of, I was like, if I do things my own way, like the things that I desire will come to me. The lovers I want will come to me. The collaborators I want will come to me. My friends will come to me. And basically that is like definitely with creative collaborations. Yeah, that is true. Like I feel like I am definitely in a place where like the right people I get to work with, and and that's very special. And friendships, absolutely. And I think recently I've been like, oh, actually this does make you a little bit harder to have a relationship with. Maybe not to love, but like being like, oh yeah, like I really have built my own world and my own kind of like imagination space that is so deeply also in my life. Like the way, I feel like every project I do, it feels like my embodiment gets to be experimented with, and I get to think about, I'm always thinking about like, what is my desire, and like, how is this project changing my desire, and how do I get to experiment with those things, and what am I, like how is like my life also like influencing my work? Like I'm always thinking about that. But recently, I guess I've had some things happen that I'm like, just maybe experiment with the idea of sort of separating your love life from your work. And also, it's actually less separating love life from work, but maybe I was like, what would happen if your art practice and your desire, well, I don't know, actually, I think I've just got lost in my thinking because that's not actually what I want. I'm like about to say something, I'm like, that's not at all what I want. But okay, this is what I think what has happened is that sometimes when a lot of your sort of desire and sort of feeling that this is what makes me really attractive is your art practice, that when you do have these disappointments or when you do have heartbreaks, it actually troubles the art practice in a way that I feel that's what I feel protective about.
Yeah.
Of being like, I don't want this to be the thing that I always lead with because I don't, I actually trust it.
Yeah.
It's sort of sustaining itself without being desired by other people. Or
Yeah.
it's just, it's like so a part of, and it's actually like so in me at this point, and like I like so am like living it out in such a, it's been enough time of like living with this that
you're saying like what makes a successful art practice is not necessarily relevant to what makes a successful romantic life.
Yeah.
And to conflate the two could get really is like wires crossed and not in a good way.
Yes. That's what I'm starting to think about.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yeah. I'm like not even sure if I'm sure what I'm saying.
I think so. I think I think you're talking about, I assume you're talking about like world building as an artist, that like the themes that are coming up in your work are also what you're like living out.
Yes. Yeah, and actually like I have been in this process recently, like a rehearsal process. And I think like some of the early stages of it, I was just like sitting and like hearing, you basically are like hearing your interiority like reflected back to you.
Yeah.
And you're sharing it with people in a way that like you also let it be open to conversation and feedback and actors are amazing because they're like, they ask a lot of questions of the work when you're in process. And I think in the reflection of it, I was like, wow, I've been writing about disappointment for like a long time. And I've been writing about, I was like, what? And I just had this, I was like, what if you didn't do that? Or I was like, oh, that would be really, and I was like, I was like, you're in a different, you want something different right now. Or like, and I always feel like my kind of artwork is ahead of me and I'm just trying to catch up to it. Like it actually knows something that like a sort of unconscious want or desire that I am just following or again, catching up to. And so often I'll have like weird premonitions or like I'll do something in my work and then it will sort of like come true.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. I think, well, okay, a good example is, and this is like I think like the most interesting heartbreak I had was like with a friend. And I wrote a play kind of thinking around like what happens when like chosen family breaks up, or like when you like are no longer best friends with your best friend, and this was specific to like I had like a theater collaborative for 10 years and we stopped working together in 2019, and I remember being like there's just no container for this. Like there's actually like I think actually like romantic heartbreak, there is a container for it. Like there is a genre of it. Like you, and it's also very clear what ended.
Yeah.
Whereas I was like, oh, with friendships, when they end, like there's sort of no. It's like it just sort of defies form in such a way.
Do you think that because there's less like canon of the fantasies of friendship?
Yeah, and I also think friends they fulfill different things for each of us.
Yeah.
And they're also like, I think it's really clear, like when you stop dating someone, you're just like, okay, we're not having sex anymore, and we might not be seeing each other.
Yeah.
Whereas with a friend, you're like, well, what are we ending?
Yeah.
Like, like what we're just not seeing each other.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more confusing. And anyway, I wrote this. I spent 3 years working on this play, sort of thinking around this particular friendship, and I wrote this conversation at the end of it that was not even like it's just these two characters sort of reckoned with like what happened, and like finally talked to each other. And then 5 years later, I had the same conversation.
Yeah.
Or sorry, not 5 years later, but 2 years later, I had a very similar conversation with this person. And that felt like so trippy, because I was like, I wrote this.
Did you know you were forecasting it while you were writing it?
I had a hunch. I had a hunch I was. And sometimes it's just like the other things that will sort of become premonitions is like, just like, and I think a lot of artists are like this, just like feelings you're picking up in the world, like zeitgeisty stuff. You're like, what's going on with,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. There's stuff like that, then like in the world, it'll sort of like manifest.
I think that have been, like, I feel vulnerable, just like you introduced. I've been avoiding the subject of friendship breakup. I think because my own friendship breakups are more complicated than my romantic ones. And I'm like not, I feel self-conscious about discussing them here. And it's like, I'm glad we're doing it, but.
Yeah,
but
I actually figured that's what we would talk about. Because I was like, that's the heartbreak that's changed me the most.
Can you say, I mean, it sounds like there's that one really big one.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the friendship breakup.
How did the like felt experience of the grief change for that one?
Oh, well, it was interesting. That happened, that friendship fell apart at the same time I was also going through a romantic breakup. They kind of happened at the same time, unrelated, but well, who knows? But and so I think in a similar sense where I was like, oh, I confused like the political heartbreak and the personal heartbreak. Yeah. And I knew I was doing it. I was like, oh, I don't know how to deal with this. Like the ending of the friendship and the collaboration, like that also, we like made art together. I was so angry. Like it was like incredible. It was like so much rage in a way that I hadn't felt. I don't usually feel in romantic breakups. But anyway, I was like, the romantic breakup became so much bigger in my life because I was like, I can just put a lot of these feelings into this thing. Like I can, I think both of us, I think I knew I was doing it, and my ex knew I was doing it too, where it was like, this is, very sad and hard and, unfortunate that we can't be together, but it became a lot bigger in my, in my life, because it felt like I could kind of put some of the like friendship stuff inside the romantic breakup.
You were like scapegoating the ex.
Yeah. And
you did this to me.
Yeah.
And that person was like, I don't think I did all this.
Yeah, or just like the loss felt so much bigger.
Yeah.
Than it maybe had to be or was actually.
Why do you think it, like, if that's a defensive move, what do you think it was about the friendship? Like, why couldn't that live there?
Yeah. I just didn't have the language. I didn't totally understand what was happening.
Yeah.
And I just didn't, and that friendship was such a big part of my life that there was also like, it felt like it kind of put into question like the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
And like all the choices I had made, and like what's next, in a way that was really scary.
Yeah. So it actually was sort of, there's like a minimizing, by making it romantic, it's sort of minimizing, it made it feel more digestible.
Yes, yeah, I think so. And I guess because the loss, I didn't understand what I was, like the loss felt more than just a person. It was also a project, like a long collaboration that both of us had put a lot of our life into, and our like planning into, actually, like sort of where we thought our lives were going to go.
Yeah.
And there was also, I think, a lot of relief. I think I knew that the friendship, like it was like kind of also like an ecstasy feeling, like I'm free.
Yeah.
And I can have, so there was like something very animating about it, that I could do things in a different way.
I think a lot about it with romantic, because I talk to clients about their romantic life a lot. And so I talk a lot about the unconscious bargains we make with like parts of ourselves we cast aside to be in romantic partnership. I don't think very much about how we do this in friendship, but obviously something similar, like shapes we take in friendships, and what it, like, I'm assuming when you say that ecstasy, it's like the feeling of getting part of yourself back.
Yes. Yeah, or like realizing I have this part. Or really, I think there was also, we were very like enmeshed, and one could say codependent. And so I think there was also understanding like what was mine a little bit.
No,
Yeah.
totally,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that was like sort of thrilling.
Yeah. What had you in that friendship? Yeah, what did you realize was yours? What had you?
Oh, well, because it was a creative partnership, I realized like I could be a writer.
Yeah.
I realized I could make my own work.
Yeah.
I realized that I actually had a lot of friends. You know, like I really had put a lot of I had like wrapped my identity up with this person and this friendship, and I didn't know I had such a big world, actually. Like my world actually became very small, even though it didn't feel that way when we were like best friends. It actually felt like my world was like massive and hilarious, and but it was so focused on this person. And it did get in the way of my like my friend was really like my kind of like emotional primary partner.
Yeah.
And the people I dated were just sort of like to the side of that.
Yeah.
So I think there was also a kind of like there was, I was like the being alone. And I think that was what I got back. And like also like the grief of that. Like it was so much harder it's hard to be alone.
Yeah.
And I don't think I had that experience really in my 20s. Like I really was always surrounded. I was often like with this person. And so I think just like having my own interiority, like I started meditating, I started writing. I think that's the gift I got from it. Like I could have my own creative voice. So that was like, and I mean, and then also like interesting things happened. Like there was like a kind of, I was like shocked at actually how quickly I came back to myself. You know, I think it was like my worst fear was that we would never be friends, or that we would stop being friends. Like that was like such a fear. And then it happened. And then it actually wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And also it was horrible. You know, it was like both.
Yeah.
Other things were like, and I mean, my whole life changed after that. Like I came to New York, I started grad school, I started writing my own plays. Like I really, it felt in some ways like the beginning of my own like personal trajectory.
What were the harder parts?
I felt like, I mean, the anger was really hard to sit with. Yeah, the anger and the sort of, and the grief of like a kind of laughter left, you know, like we had a kind of fun that I still have that kind of fun with some people, but not, we had our own language, we had our own like hilarity. I think we're also both like kind of like practicing taking care of each other and like practicing ways to be in relationships that I like now think very fondly of. Like we also were so young, trying to like, you know, care for someone that you can't really care for or something.
What do you, what happens to you when you're have that much rage?
I start crying. Yeah. I am more of a crier than a yeller. I swim. That's like a huge
Good
part of
coping.
my life. Yeah. I sometimes just get exhausted. Like it like
Yeah.
makes me exhausted. It
Yeah.
like zaps me.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, it's awful. I associate rage with like a lot of like ruminating too, like really
Yes.
obsessing
Yes.
and
Yeah.
like feeling really burdened by the
Yeah.
thoughts.
Yeah, that I definitely feel. I don't like want. Yeah, it reminds me of like my father. I'm like, I don't want to be this angry. Like I don't want to. I don't want to have this sort of anger in my body. But I also think it can be really like effective. Like I think I have like written really amazing things out of rage.
Yeah.
Like it's like when you have like an outlet for it, it's great. And I don't think I've actually used it in many ways, so that's great.
Like in writing, you can expel it. Like you can, yeah.
It doesn't go away.
That makes me wish I was a writer.
Yeah, but it's like it turns it into something pleasurable and
Yeah.
like exciting.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I think the like idea that one can write something out of their body, it comes back.
Expelling is the wrong word, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I wish.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I think it gets like dispersed, and then you get to see it, or you can then you also have like a document. You're like, I did feel this, you know, which I love. Like, or like, I can't believe that came out of me. I wrote this one monologue in like incredible rage, and I think it's like a very exciting piece of writing, and I love hearing this actor say it. He does such a good job with it, but also I can't believe I felt those things. And I guess it's like you don't expel it from your body, but it does get a little bit, it gets a little bit less potent.
Yeah, and something to do, like instead of just like, well, I feel awful, I'm just gonna like sit in it. There's like there's a little control back if you can do something.
Yeah, you
with
get to work with it. I guess it becomes like, material rather than like I feel like I can't do anything about this feeling. Yeah.
How did that breakup change? Yeah, what were your fantasies about friendship and how have they changed since?
Gosh, so much has. Well, I also now talk to this friend. Like we've reconnected,
Wow.
and that was wild. And it was 5 years where we didn't talk. And I think when we did start speaking again, I mean, it was like a wild, like even the decision about whether I was ready to talk to him was like extremely painful and scary, really scary, and even and transformative. Just in, am I ready to do this?
What like you would undo the growth or
And it brought all the like I felt like I was like, is this a trap? Like I'm so scared actually, and I resent him. You know, like I don't want to give him what he wants. I don't want to like you kind of have to. In order for me to move on from that, I did actually have to like kind of cut it out of my life, and like I had to sort of forget it. So then to have to like have it be like remember it again was also really quite overwhelming. And but I do remember when we did talk, like the first time, it was like an incredible relief where I was like, you actually understand what happened. And I was like, oh, I've been searching.
Amanda understands?
No,
or
my friend,
that he did?
Yeah, I was like, oh, finally I found someone who knows what that experience was like.
Oh, not that he understood the rupture, but that you'd both been through something similar. Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he understood the rupture too.
Okay.
Because I think people are like, oh, what happened? And you try to describe it, and you're like, nobody, I can't quite translate how life-changing this was, or how kind of upending this friendship was. Like, there's nothing I can't, there's only so many ways I can talk about it. Because it was, it was actually so in my body. And I think I remember being on the phone with him and being like, oh my God, like, you know what happened. Like, I'm like finally not alone in this grief.
It's ironic.
I know. And it was beautiful. And like, and it was really, really healing in many ways.
It's so beautiful to hear you say that, because the implication is that you were both able to hold the evolution of the relationship as something you were a part of, and like a thing that was co-constructed, but that neither was like particularly done to by, like, neither of you felt like so victim-y in the breakup, that you could understand, like, we made this thing together, we went through it together, and in some ways it's bigger than us, and we both know what that felt like.
Yeah, I was surprised. I actually thought it was going to be, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if it was like, are we going to return to a certain dynamic? Am I going to get an apology? Are we going to, what are we going to, I had just no idea what we were going to talk about. And I actually didn't want to be a victim, even though I had a hunch maybe he saw me as a victim. And I remember that was like I was like, no, like, that was one of the things I felt so rageful about. It was like, you've turned me into this victim when actually I wasn't. I never wanted to be that. In fact, like, I actually had a lot of control over the situation too. And there were certain things, like, also just like what actually happened on both our ends was really interesting to talk about.
Like, just like
that rupture itself.
Actual details of what.
Yeah, it's like, what's your story and what's my story?
Yeah.
And being like, oh, wow, that's what you think happened. Here's what I think happened. And there are many overlaps. And like I think both of us enough time had passed where we had like a lot more compassion for the ways in which we both made a lot of mistakes. And then, but yeah, I remember like, because we talked on the phone and I was in my apartment and I was like, oh, I'm in my like, I kind of put in, I was like, it really like showed me how much time had passed. Whereas like, it felt like this almost like hologram of like my 20s was like sort of like active in my like home that I've built now in my 30s.
Yeah.
And the home that I've built in some ways in a response to this rupture. Like, other things had been rupturing and it was like many things were in flux when that breakup happened. So it's not all around that, but it was kind of like, oh, I've actually, I was like, oh, I became a person. And now I'm sort of like realizing that, or I've become a very different person. And I don't think I understood how much time had passed. So there was also this kind of like, I felt like, the kind of like time travel that happened in those moments.
Yeah.
And then, and what like real forgiveness was like the thing that also, I don't think I had ever forgiven somebody.
What can you?
Yeah. Oh, I guess in that moment I realized, or in that it took like, it was a long time to also like kind of digest what reconnecting meant. But I think something I remember from that phone call was like maybe how I had sort of like absconded parts of myself to move forward. Like, that was sort of the only way I could sort of create this new way of being and a new life and new creative practice, was like essentially like cutting parts of myself out. And I think when we were talking on the phone, I was like, I think I was more shocked by, was like, oh, I've actually like left parts of me behind. And forgiveness is not just forgiving this person, but it's also like I should be forgiving this person also to like bring back those parts of my life and like how I got here and why I make art in this way and like about my own desire.
What kinds of stuff?
Like a kind of way of being in my 20s that was like really maybe there was some shame in the ending too, that I sort of just like didn't want to see those sides of myself. But then when it sort of, because they were so like tinged with this very bad ending and this sort of, like I guess I kind of like blamed myself for some of it.
Yeah.
So I saw it only as negative
Yeah.
that I didn't want. But then I was like, oh no, there was like so much humor, so much desire, a kind of sexiness that like I didn't really like want anymore. A kind of like play, maybe that's it, like a kind of way of playing. And yeah.
That you had sort of like demonized in the breakup, like, oh, this is just part of that like bad, younger,
Yeah.
immature part of it's time to like move on
And yeah, I think parts of that, or I guess I wasn't able to even appreciate it because it was, you know, then I was like, oh no, but you were codependent, or no, you were like, there was like a power imbalance, or, you know, like there's just, like I saw it actually more simplistic, like.
Yeah. Well, there's like in therapy we talk about splitting, like that it had
Very much. When actually I was like, no, all those things, actually like my capacity to love was like inside that relationship, and my capacity to like really play with somebody was in that, and to care for somebody. And
what's it like to have, I mean, we were talking about like earlier about being friends with exes, but like this is being friends with an ex.
Oh, absolutely.
What's it like? What is the current state of that relationship? Like, how does the fact of that rupture inform what the relationship is like now?
There's really good boundaries.
Uh-huh.
And it.
Can you talk, like, you don't have to like disclose anything about this person exactly, but like what for you, what do good friendship boundaries look like?
In this case, I just know what's not mine.
You're talking more about like internal boundaries of like.
Yeah, or.
Like not confusing them for yourself.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that, which I don't know if good boundaries in friendship is always that. It's funny, I just read an article yesterday, which it was sort of an older article, but it was like about the history of boundaries. So it's like on my mind. And like I'm actually quite interested when boundaries sort of blur, but also like I'm totally aware of like why we need them and whatever. But in this friendship, this sort of like friends with an ex friendship, I think, well, it's sort of nice. I guess I feel much more, there's a different kind of, there's like a bit of a detachment. Like I can also like, sometimes we'll have exchanges where I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I loved you so much. Like, this is why we were such good friends. Like you still are like the smartest person I've ever met, and like so interesting. And I can also, I don't need to be around it in the same way. Like
the temptation to merge and
I don't have that. And I also am like, you know, how responsible, like eye roll, you know, like.
What do you mean?
I think there was like I don't feel this actually as we're kind of becoming friends again. I felt it more in that 5-year gap of being like, I know, like the sort of mourning of a kind of merge that I think is really possible in your early 20s.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, and then you have to kind of like, quote unquote, become an adult.
Yeah.
And like become an individual.
Yeah.
And while I know why that is present in my life,
there's a cost.
Yeah.
There's a cost in terms of what the friendships will be like, what they're going to mean. Totally.
Yeah, and being like, why can't there, and sort of that it's put in sort of like it's responsible to become an individual, and you're like, why?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like, and there was a sort of grief and mourning around that, even though I at the same time knew it was not sustainable in my life.
I was talking about my, my like core, my like first gay guy friend group from my 20s. I was talking about them with my therapist recently, and she quoted this. I was like, it was so corny but true. She quoted the end of the movie Stand By Me. Oh.
You can keep, I don't mind.
Okay. She quoted the end of the movie Stand By Me, when do you know this movie about like
of course. Yeah. I don't
there's
think
the author, like in the end, the narrator is like finishing his story and he's watching his son play with his friends, and he says about like what's happened in the story of the movie. He says, I never had friends like that ever again.
Yeah. And I actually know I'll never have friends like that ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that I've had, I think part of the, like what I got from that sort of rupture was like a proliferation of friends.
Yeah.
Like now I have a lot more friends. I have a lot more, like different kind of, like people hold different things for each other and for me, and I hold different things for each other, for people. And I also, but there's like a kind of a mourning of that type of closeness.
Totally.
Which is it's so beautiful. It's so idiosyncratic and like potentially destructive.
Yeah, it's great. It's grandiose too.
Yeah, right. There's like a mythos to our friendship, and so I guess in talking to each other now, I have a lot of compassion for it. Like, and I can kind of see also the spark from it and be like, I remember why we got along so well.
Yeah.
And I also have some feelings of like, thank God I don't have to take care of this, or thank God this is not, like I can kind of like, I can differentiate actually, because I think at times I wouldn't. I'd be like, your problem is my problem. And,
and that you like, it's sad and there's a loss in it, but you know you know where you end and he begins.
Yeah. And it feels, well, I guess every time I hang up on the phone with him, I'm like, I think I'm an adult now. I was like, this is what it feels like to be an adult. And you're like, oh, okay, like, like we talk for an hour. We like know when to, and I kind of know, but at the same time, we're also like reintroducing ourselves to each other. And that's been interesting to even get to know myself of like, who am I now? And like, how am I introducing myself to this, like true kind of foundational person in my life who's also like a new friend at the same time. And it's been nice recently. I feel like we had like one big conversation, and then I kind of thought we were going to be processing it for a while, but we kind of just moved, like we just took a beat and now talk every once in a while.
It comes up.
It does. We actually don't. We talk about. It's been really nice actually to talk about our collaboration sometimes, and like sort of like reference it. That has felt really interesting.
What did you guys do with the work? Who got?
Well, it was plays, so I guess we both got the documentation. And I guess there's certain props that, the way it ended was just like whoever had what they had, that was that. But I would say like, he's the reason I make theater, like I was so, like I was really shy. I wouldn't have like had the confidence to start directing and writing. And I think both of us needed a collaborator to start working in this medium. And I think that's at the core of how I even like stepped into it. So maybe that's what I get to keep too.
What, for anyone out there, like when someone's in heartbreak and you're having all of those feelings, you can tell how generative it could be, but the gap between like knowing that and doing something about it, I wonder advice about for someone who maybe wants to like bridge that gap for themselves.
Well, I think there's like cliches are fine. That has been helpful recently, in like what I'm working on.
You mean like not getting obstructed by
judging yourself? I think that's. I think just getting curious about it. I journal, like literally that's like actually how I make all my work. Like that's it always starts in a sort of
with journaling
place. And like and not separating kind of what am I feeling and what am I writing about and what am I, you know, like what am I feeling animated by or crushed by or whatever. And I do think like, yeah, there's a kind of playfulness I do have with bad feelings that really I think is like a survival tool for me. And yeah, and there's sort of this always like a search for, like I guess thinking about these ruptures or these breaks, again, like as portals, or someone once called it a sacred moment, you know, like in these times when you are forced into transition or you're, you know, or a reckoning, like so much new language emerges. And you like understand like what it was all about, or you just like so much happens in those places. And like I can sometimes miss not having those things again. Like it's been a long time since I've had a heartbreak. Or like long enough for me to desire a heartbreak. Which like maybe it just means I want to fall in love. But like, because I was like, oh, I really miss that. I mean, I don't miss it in some ways. I'm like, yeah, there is always that feeling of like, can I go through this again? But also the like, the kind of like new language it opens up, or like the new ways of also relating even to the cliche. That's been really helpful for me.
To the Rihanna song.
Where it's like you both are like totally a part of, it's like a part of the world.
No, but that is like you and Rihanna are both in the world. And this has come up is the contradiction of like how isolating heartbreak is. Like you feel so alone, and you feel like I'm a human.
Totally. Yes, it's so, I mean, maybe that's even the kind of like, you're holding on for dear life and you're in, like everything else is in free fall, or the kind of like watching the house burn. It's like, it's such a contradictory place. And to me, that's like everything. So, and like you learn so much about yourself and like how, and like actually what you want in a way that is always shocking to me. So that's, I don't know if that's advice, but that's like, maybe I just like let it all in and like have a diary. And if that diary becomes your art, that's A-okay.
That seems like a great place to stop.
Yeah, wonderful.
Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you.